By 4:30 a.m., the Israelis had reached the Jordanians' command bunker. For the next 45 minutes, they lined the opening of the bunker with 21 pounds of TNT.
This is Ammunition Hill. This is the site of what is still today the bloodiest battle in Arab-Israeli history.
I talked with In Our Hands, the Battle for Jerusalem writer and director, CBN's Aaron Zimmerman. The docudrama tells the story of Israel's victory in the city during the 1967 Six-Day War through the eyes of the paratroopers. Did you do reenactments here?
We did. The people who run Ammunition Hill were very great to us, and they let us have the run of the place for 2.5 nights. We had snipers shooting from the bunkers. We had them crawl through the grass, up the hill, through the barbed wire. They even showed us the original bunker. The battle kind of ended when the Israelis got to the top of the hill, and they found the Jordanian command bunker. And they took 21 pounds of TNT and blew that sucker into next week. And so they showed us that, and they said, well, you're welcome to use this bunker again to stage your explosion. And we thought, great. You know, if it survived a real explosion, it can survive a fake movie one.
Based entirely on facts, the film includes dramatizations of important scenes like Commander Motor talking to troops on the Mount of Olives.
We are sitting on a ridge overlooking the old city, and soon we shall enter it. The old city of Jerusalem, which generations have dreamed of and longed for. We will be the first to enter.
And running through the streets of Jerusalem under threat of sniper fire to take the Temple Mount and Western Wall.
We had done another docudrama, The Hope, about the beginning of Israel, and we thought, what's the next chapter in that story? And we went to 67, and it's such a great story, and we thought, well, let's not do a dry documentary. Let's get to know some of the men who actually lived it.
And digging into all the background, historical data, etc., that must have been an enormous undertaking.
I tried to use primary sources as much as I could. I tried to use people's diaries. I tried to use minutes from Israeli government meetings. I used personal interviews, but all of the dialogue in the film was recorded in history.
As a result of the war, Israel tripled in size, beating the combined armies of Syria, Egypt, and Jordan to win the Golan Heights, the Sinai Desert, and Judea and Samaria, and reuniting beloved Jerusalem.
To cover the whole war would take too much time, so we narrowed it down to the Battle of Jerusalem, and then we narrowed it down further to one group of men, the 55th Paratrooper Brigade, and I really liked them because they weren't regular army. They were the reservists. They were a little bit older, they were the husbands and the fathers and the businessmen, and they were the guys that ended up going into Jerusalem.
We shouldn't wait for that to change. Let's go. Step on it, Bensu.
I mean, these actors are very realistic.
Oh, they're great, yeah.
Did it have an effect on the actors themselves? Because it's more than just history. This is in many cases, their fathers, their grandfathers. They're depicting this. How did they respond to that?
I had a lot of guys tell me their personal family histories. I had so many guys say to me, well, my grandfather was in the Holocaust, or my grandfather, in one case, Sharon Friedman, who played Motor, his grandfather was one of the guys who fought for Jerusalem in '48 and saw the whole siege and everything.
The little woman who came and offered up the flag, she wanted that flag to be used and flown
at the Western Wall.
At the Western Wall. I mean, that brought tears to my eyes.
Oddly enough, the paratrooper Yoram Zamosh, who's part of that story, I asked him, did you ever see that family again? And he said, we did. And he said, a few months after the war, the old grandmother had passed away.
Really?
Like she was waiting. She had lived through getting kicked out of her home in '48, and she had lived through all of that, hoping to see Jerusalem reunited.
From start to finish, Zimmerman worked on the film for just a year. But was there anything that you uncovered, something unknown, not something that you just didn't know anything about at all?
What was interesting to me was the response to the paratroopers. When they came into town, they were heroes. These families came out. Now, keep in mind, there was also a blackout because of the Jordanian shelling. There was all of that going on, and still these women would come out of their houses with food.
How did it affect you personally?
From the film side, I learned what an amazing thing can happen when everybody works together. And, You have so many good people doing what is their specialty, whether it's training the army, whether it's doing makeup, whether it's doing explosives. What I took away from the war, there are two things you can do in life. You can practice and plan and just the hard work and living something to see that result come out the way that it did. Or you can be in a situation like the paratroopers where you train for one thing, then life throws you another way. And can you adapt to that?
I asked Zimmerman what she wants the audience to take away from the film.
Well, two things. I tried hard to keep it as apolitical as possible to give it a wider audience. Number one, I want them to see the sacrifice that these men made. Number two, we went back 20 years to 1948 to what happened when the Jewish quarter fell and the Jordanians ethnically cleansed every Jew from the old city of Jerusalem. And then at the end of this segment, the Jordanian officer says, "We have so completely destroyed this place that no Jew can ever return here." So then we fast forward 19 years and show how they did.
And what will Israelis think of the film?
I hope it will be good. I want people to take away a pride in their heritage.
And after all the bloodletting and everything else that's occurred here historically, there's no way that Israel Jews are going to give up this city.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Moshe Dayan said it when he got to the Western Wall. We've come to the city never to depart from it again.
Scott Ross at Ammunition Hill in Jerusalem.